Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining myself today. I've got a special guest. I've got my
Be your guest, Mitch.
yeah, and this is a bit of a different episode. So, last week had me and Mark and Stu were on talking about our book, which was an unusual show because usually the objective of these is for me to do call breakdowns, and I'm sure we're going to do a lot more of those moving into next year. But this week has been a bit of a special week for myself and everyone at Refract because we were successfully acquired by a company called Allego, who, if you're not familiar, are a company based in Boston who are truly a market leader in the world of sales, learning, enablement, training, and we're really excited to become part of the Allego group, using our technology to power their own product, as well as we're continuing on our path to innovate and continue making one of the best conversation intelligence products out there. But yeah, what I want to do is to come on here, talk a little bit about the acquisition, some of the experiences and stories that we've had, and I thought no better person to share this with than Kevin Beales, who's my co-founder, my CEO, and it's me and Kev who've been on this journey before Refract even existed as a name of a product, never mind the product itself. So, Kev, welcome to LinkedIn Live, and how have you felt this week?
Well, thanks for having me, Mitch. Blimey, I'm not allowed to swear, am I? It's been a week. It has been a week. Just a whirlwind of first of all hard work, and then excitement just to get over the line. Then all the excitement of being able to share that with both the teams here at Refract and Allego. The reaction that we've had since, it's been a whirlwind week. I've put some makeup over the bags under the eyes, and as you and I both know, it's been quite emotional. We're so excited about the next chapters and the future, but it has also been a moment where it's a moment of kind of just reflecting on the journey so far, recollecting we had a few drinks after we closed on Tuesday evening.
Tuesday.
After the days have gone. We had a few drinks, and the few drinks as a management team turned into the early hours, and lots of stories and recollections. Some of which we might be able to repeat today, but some of which maybe best left for a bar conversation. But a chance just to take a breath and recount what we're obviously really proud of what we've achieved, and as an amazing team, whilst obviously full of excitement about the next step of that journey. But it's been an emotional week for both of us, hasn't it? I mean,
it absolutely has. I mean, I think I shared with you, was the feeling I had on Tuesday and Wednesday was the same sort of feeling I had like when I got engaged, it's a kind of a weird feeling of like sort of giddiness, a bit of a whirlwind of emotions. But I think what was a little bit different about this was I couldn't lie, and I shared this with you, Kev, that it was a sense of melancholy as well as we got closer to it, of like this thing that we kind of built from nothing to a really great business with great people, with great customers. That someone has came along and prepared to pay a sum of money to acquire, and not just because of the product that they want to buy, they bought into the whole company, the people, was obviously, and then kind of giving that away. It's like your sort of your baby that you're giving away to somebody else, whilst it's we totally are bought in and excited, truly excited about what's coming up. But yeah, a whirlwind of emotions, and I mean, maybe it would make sense to just kind of cast our mind back to the really early days of, you know, the kind of what it was like to just kind of get started is like from literally not even having like an MVP product to just starting to get the first customers. What are some of your kind of memories of those really early days?
Yeah, so yeah, for those listening, it started as a conversation at a coffee between myself and Rich in a Costa coffee somewhere, where we started like dreaming up what Refract's become, or started to dream that up. I think the first thing to say is, you know, for anyone, getting those wheels turning, you know, that was tough. You know, that was hard. Those first couple of years of kind of feeling like you're working so hard, feeling like you're celebrating all the great things along the way, and yet at the same time you kind of think, you know, this just isn't going very fast, you know, like this, you know, just frustration. You know, we've obviously shared over the years a lot of frustration of like, feels like it should be going faster. It feels like, you know, we should be doing better. You know, it's obviously quite cliched. You've got the you know, the impossible to inevitable book, and that has rung so true for us. You know, that kind of the path to $1 million in annual recurring revenue was a slog, you know, and especially probably the first half of that was a real slog. And then, you know, this year we've doubled our revenue, and, you know, and I won't say it seemed easy, and there's obviously was you know, COVID season somewhere in the middle, but it's those, you know, just getting those wheels turning, and that feeling of frustration of like, you're working so hard, you're doing so much, you're celebrating so many great wins, but still the needle's just moving really slowly is definitely something from those early days.
Yeah, I think one of the stories we were sharing is we had a whiteboard in one of our first offices, and it was like in green.
Is that after we came out of the attic?
That's after we came out of the attic, when we could actually afford a whiteboard, and we had a green marker pen, and we just had the MRR number on the whiteboard. And it was like every sort of deal that we did, we'd like rub out, and that number would go up by maybe like, you know, 0.1%. And it almost felt like we were in that kind of that sort of between 10 to 20,000 range for just felt like for forever. But still, you know, really delighted. Sorry, go on.
Can I make a confession? I don't think I've ever even told you this.
Here we go.
About that whiteboard. So, you know, yeah, as you say, it was going up little bit by bit. When we had churn, and, you know, these are in the days obviously when we had churn. When we had churn, I just couldn't bring myself to take, you know, because we were working so hard for it to creep up bit by bit. I couldn't bring myself to bring that figure down. So we went through ages where I wasn't bringing it down every time there was churn, and someone would, you know, we'd win a deal, and you know, where someone would go and swap it out and add on top of it. And I thought, like, I can't tell people that's not quite where we are. We definitely went through a period where that wasn't. Because right, you know, you're all thriving off the enthusiasm and the wins, and you know, churn is that punch in the stomach, and, you know, obviously you've got to acknowledge it and you've got to embrace it, and that's, you know, is part of the journey and part of the learning. But I couldn't bring myself to scrub out that figure now.
Yeah, I mean,
when no one was there, and hope no one would remember what it was.
Yeah, no, that is funny, but you know, I totally. It was literally like getting sometimes like signing a customer. You feel you put a lot of effort in for, you know, even in the early days we were saying getting someone to pay us like £99 a month. In fact, I remember the first customer we ever signed. I was at like some trade show trying to network on the stands and trying to, you know, chuck me business card to as many people. And I remember you called me and said, "Rich, I've just signed up our first paying customer. Like, they're paying us actual money. They're paying us £99 a month. I think we've got them signed up for 3 months." And like, then it was just that was an amazing feeling. I think that they talk a lot about when you in startups, just getting someone to pay you something is like a validator, even if that money isn't very much at all. Just that validator that says, you know what, someone has been prepared to like part ways with their own cash, to part way with some risk, essentially. And obviously, it's that just feels like a country mile from where we are now. But those early deals still felt like they meant more than some of the deals that we do now. I mean that in the best possible way, where you're like, you can go back to the angel investors and say, hey, we're actually starting to get some people to pay us money. Like we're doing something right. It might not be the absolute right direction, but we're doing something right.
Well, it's because we've been used to closing big deals in previous roles and previous companies. It isn't the sum of money. It is the validation. It's the validation that we are building something that someone would want to pay money for, and will get the value from that investment. And it is that, it's the validation of everything you've thrown your heart into. It's like, but you need that financial commitment to convince yourself and the world that that's the progress that you're making. So it was.
And I think like we were also talking a little bit about just milestones that stick out for us in the along the way. I don't know, Kev, if you want to share any like maybe key milestones that stick out in your head of things that maybe were times when you just felt like there were true leapfrogs for the business, and could be in any different types of realms. But what are some of those that stick out for you?
So I think the one, and this is all about the team, and like I couldn't possibly mention any customer name when we tell this story, but this became our biggest customer at the time. When you came to us and you said, I've got good news and I've got bad news. This huge organization who still a client with us today, still one of our biggest clients today, having grown with us. They wanted to do a trial, which was amazing. And this was definitely the biggest organization that had ever done a trial with us. Here came the bad news. They want to trial something that they think that they've seen in our demo, but we haven't built yet. It didn't exist. And the kind of the whole use case was around something that was part of our future plans that didn't exist. And it wasn't that we'd presented it that it did. It was just that was the bit they were really excited about and had seen in other products. And our other co-founder, bless him, Paul, declared that he was going to build it over a weekend. Absolutely fair play to him. A product that I'm sure has taken other organisations months, if not years, to develop. The first prototype was created over a weekend by Paul. And again, all of this seems mad now when so much thought goes into to scoping and and planning and building and testing, but you have to. I think one of the things I wrote down just before coming on this is you have to do things that don't scale. Whether that's the effort that you put into looking after your customers, whether it's manual things that kind of feel like that they're not going to scale and you're going to have to address, or even the fact that the commercial model isn't going to scale. You need to embrace and do those things that aren't going to scale, just to get the traction, just to get the learnings. And it's it is having those customers and starting working with those customers and building those relationships with those customers that give you the learnings that that allow you to take the next steps and
I think I remember that well. I think I was in the Lake District at a wedding when I made that call, and I said, like, I've got another demo with these guys next week, like, and fair play to Paul, he delivered on it. And then it suddenly became real that this company was going to pay us a substantial contract, and then it was like, wow, this is we're really heading in the right direction. But I think just kind of coupled with what you said, Kev, and I still feel like we've still got this today, but more so then was just like that phrase of like, it's a get shit done mentality. It's like there's no point dwelling and over talking and over discussing points. You just need to just try stuff out, because we both say, and I'm sure we'll come on to this, some of our biggest learnings, if you like, is like we've learned like so much in the last 5 years compared to before that, and you've obviously had a much longer career than I have. But the amount of like
What are you saying, Rich?
the learnings that we have over the last 5 years, you kind of think is so insane how much we've learned that is sets us up well moving forward. But you've got to fail quickly. We did various things along the way that didn't work out, and but you've got to try it, and you've got to go quick, and you've got to fail quickly, and you've got to have the right people to be able to do that. And we absolutely had, like, along the way, and in the main, the right people who just didn't need their hand holding all the time, that were bought into the whole vision and the journey and the culture, and were just like, getting their hands dirty every day, just trying stuff out.
Yeah.
And that for me was one of the biggest things. I said, unless you've got that, some people might not like the word hustle, but it's absolutely what kind of drove us through those early, those first few years.
I think sometimes the word hustle is kind of misused and misunderstood. Like that people say hustle as in you've got to work every hour. And it's about not looking after yourself and all the your well-being and everyone around you and all the other things. I think as you're describing it there, that's not what it's about. It's about just getting shit done, like not overthinking it. Doing something, if it doesn't work, you learn quickly, and you've got to learn quickly, and but you can plan and you can think, and frankly, and you see this in by the way, like, I'm not saying we did even half of the things right in those days. I'm not saying it was all good, but I think when you see that early stage startup, you do get a sense of what their likely chances of success are, as to whether they have that kind of mentality, or whether you're going to see them at every conference. You're going to see that you're going to you're always learning, never doing, kind of overthinking, overthinking, over planning everything. Time is the enemy. Time is the factor. If you are not making progress day by day, then it's just a slow path to death. And again, I'm saying that there have been lots of times where you and I, often actually one of you and I, are kind of like, is this going to work out? Are we getting there? Are we getting there fast enough? And I think we've always done a good job of kind of bouncing off each other. So it's not. I don't want to kind of say this has all been a path of roses and has led us to this point, because that is not true at all. It's a roller coaster, but it is that kind of get shit done mentality. It is that that we're going to try things, we're going to do some things right, we're going to make mistakes. When we make mistakes, we make them quickly. The one thing that you do invest the time in, though, is the data. Not necessarily just data on its own, because often there isn't enough data on its own to make decisions and informed decisions, but looking for the signs that either are suggesting this is working, this isn't working, this should be changed, this should be reconsidered. Just looking for those those signs.
Yeah, and I think we matured on that a lot throughout the journey. Like we just got more and more that the data became really important, especially in the last 2 years. From a sales and marketing perspective. But yeah, you need to have your, as you said, because sometimes when you're in the heat of it and every day you're just heading the battle, and you know the bad stuff that's happening, you sometimes need that perspective that the data can actually show you actually what's in your head is actually worse than the reality. And I think that was a big learning for me. I just a couple more talking points before we start out with the first one being, you know, I think what would be some of your like biggest lessons along that you've accumulated, Kevin. In fact, before we do that question by Jonathan's, I think it's a really pertinent one. This gets asked a lot in SaaS about product market fit, and we went through this battle like a lot, and I remember, like, you know, I think if I'm being honest, from my perspective, I think it wasn't until maybe 3 years in that I think we found it. And even then, from that point, I think you start to learn, okay, that's maybe, yeah, we've got product market fit, but actually there's an even stronger fit with a very specific persona and a very specific prospect. And that, you know, that was just a constant learning process. But yeah, what were the biggest telltale signs for you, Kev, about you know, understanding and realizing we had product market fit?
So I think the first thing about this question is that, you know, thanks, Jonathan, that is that you almost get trained through content and through reading about product market fit, that there is this magical moment where someone's going to come and whack you on the head and go, that's it, you've reached product market fit, and yeah, everything's going to be good. And it was, I mean, we used to have the conversation, have we got product market fit? Is this product market fit? Like, feels a little bit like product market fit. You know, this says it's like product market fit, but this says it definitely isn't. And there was never really a moment where you said, right, okay, that's it. And, you know, even to your point there, you know, we started to get some predictability. We started to get, and that's maybe the key, is, you know, it started to become more predictable. We knew we could reach out and, you know, you know, our cold outreach from, you know, our emails and cold calling, which by the way doesn't work. But you know, we could reach out, we could spend this money on marketing, and we knew what the impact would have. And it started to become more predictable. But I think, you know, even then, we've gone through what, you know, 15 months ago now, where we really nailed down further on, you know, what are not customers that will just buy, not customers that will just be happy, but customers that we know we can delight, because we went deeper, we went, you know, more niche or niche, depending on which side of the pond you're on, into, you know, what makes a great fit for a Refract.
Yeah. I think it is one of those, like, product market fit is, I think, the thing that people can like lose sleep over. And my learning is, like, don't panic if you don't feel like you've got it after like 2 or 3 years, as long as you feel like you're going in a reasonably right direction, and that it is a constant refinement. But when you get it, you do know, and like everybody talks in the business around those personas and why they buy, and yeah, and I think then from there everything just feels a little bit easier. Anybody with any other questions, please just add them into the comments. By the way, we'll be happy to answer. But yeah, Kev, what just the question I was going to ask is, for you, what would you say have been the key learnings that you've had through the last sort of 5 years, the things that you will always take forward now, and better for having that knowledge than before?
I think that it took us a long time to get playbooks that really worked. You know, we just tried lots. We tried lots from a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, even a product perspective, and it did take us, I think, you know, on reflection, you'd like to think that with perhaps what you know today and perhaps what we've learned, that to get those playbooks quicker, and then to talk about refining and scaling those playbooks. For me personally, and we've obviously supported each other a lot on this on this journey, but I think also having those just a couple of mentors around us. This is one of the hardest things sometimes, to find those mentors that aren't invested with I don't mean necessarily invested financially, I just mean invested with an interest. There are lots of people that are involved in a business like ours, but all with a different perspective. They are either an investor or although we've been fortunate that it's been the two of us, it's a bloody lonely journey. And we were talking the other day about a guy that called Malcolm Smith, and that we were recounting that moment where in a hotel lobby, he just turned around to us both and said, "It's going to be all right." Like, at a moment where that's the last thing it felt like at that particular moment. It's and having someone, having mentors around you that you can say anything to, that you can have any conversation to, that you can be totally open and honest, and they're there for both advice and support. I think I'd have looked for those, to have all of that in place right from the start, because I think we'd have, we found some of those people, or reconnected with some of those people along the way, and I think that we could have accelerated our first 2 or 3 years if we'd had other, those people around us early on.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one I'd add on to what you just said there, Kev, is, and I've probably experienced this personally more than maybe others in the business, is like, build great relationships with a network of people who become like advocates for you as a person, you as a business. I'm thinking of like Dave Curlin, for example, like having him on board as a customer, but actually the value he gave us as a business was far more than that, because he was seen as a true voice. He was well respected in the sales world. We got a lot of customers off the back of him having a relationship with him, but not on even that level, but just people that I've just came to know in the world of sales, who is ultimately the market that we sell to, who just kind of provide your kind of amplification, especially when we have been up against, not that this was a massive problem to us really, but we had bigger, more well-funded, noisier competitors, but we still had our own like little army of supporters, and we've seen a lot of those people really sending amazing messages this week, and really pleased with us. And again, I'd say like I almost wish I'd kind of invested more time in that in the early days, but I think things like the growth of LinkedIn has like massively helped with that too, even over the last 3 years. But yeah, I'd say just having that just army of like people who just believe in what you're doing and believe in your product, believe in the team, like that just gives so many benefits, directly and indirectly, and which is invaluable.
So just to maybe touch on part of what you said there, Rich. So on this path for us, and this continued path for us, we've got some competitors who have got deeper pockets and more money than us. What would you say to people that? I'll tell you why I picked this out. I had a conversation this morning with a founder who said he'd been turned down by one particular investor because there was a big competitor in their market, and they felt like that they weren't necessarily going to be able to compete with that. What would you say to people about winning a market where there is almost inevitably now in today's SaaS world bigger and better budgets?
I actually put this as a point on my LinkedIn status today about sales lessons that I've learned. So this is a really easy one. Is you may have bigger, more well-funded, noisier competitors, but one, understand that actually they can be a help rather than not always like a hindrance, in the sense that they can help to educate your space, your category, your market. People become more familiar with your value proposition as a result. Secondly, and I think this is really true for Refract, is like you can win in other ways. And I think we always won because we strove for constant excellence in how we sell. Okay, maybe our product wasn't necessarily as far along as theirs at times, but we had a insane just commitment to want to just improve how we sell and improve the buyer experience, but also build your own awareness. Like this last year, with myself, Mark, and Stu, and all the great work that Matt, our marketing manager, has done as well, is like we've built people know Refract more this year than I think ever before, and they buy into you, your culture. They get to learn more about you. So I'd say they're some of the biggest things. Yeah. We'll wrap up a little bit with just kind of what this means moving forward. So Kev, I'll let you take this one away, of just what this means for Refract moving forwards, what the future holds, and some of the exciting opportunities that exist for customers and for potential future customers as well.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it is amazingly exciting. We are getting to reimagine the future of sales enablement with Allego here. Just a quick 20-second story. We met with Allego as a result of a cold outreach, which, by the way, doesn't work. But to the CEO of Allego, February 2019. We met up with no agenda. I was hugged at the reception by the receptionist, met with the two co-founders, came out of that meeting, rang you up, told you that this moment would come. There was just a fit right from the start. We then started working together, had an amazing partner relationship, technology relationship, really got to know each other and all of our teams, almost like a long engagement really from both of our sides, where it just became more obvious what we could achieve together. And we're capturing all these conversations. They've got all the expertise in learning content and also in coaching. And that if you could take this, this is what happens in conversations where revenue is won and lost, and this is how you can then improve the rep performance by understanding that. You can create a completely unique proposition, and that's what we've now imagined and are now making happen. So incredibly exciting for us, for our customers, for all of our teams on both sides of the pond. So really excited about the.
And I think just to add on there, like when I think of the world of like the salesperson now, everything should be geared around helping the salesperson succeed in the here and now and helping them like succeed on what they're working on today. And this is the vision that we've got of like, well, how can you go from analyzing a salesperson's conversation with a real deal or opportunity that they're working on, but actually guiding that salesperson to relevant resources, content, actions that's going to help them succeed based on what's actually going on in their actual conversations. It's like the ultimate in real time coaching and enablement and development. And I think we're just scratching the surface there with some of the concepts that we've got. I'm really excited for the next year, and we're going to continue, as we said, innovating the Refract product. For the time being, that's going to be our big focus in selling Refract. And again, we think we are scratching the surface in that regards too. But messages from Jeremy there. We've had awesome messages this week. Been great to hear from people who've kind of we've met along the way who've kind of shared in what we've tried to achieve. And excited for the next chapter, and it's been a fun time. I said, and I think this is the biggest thing for me is we all say this. I've never dreaded a day at work since we started this. I've barely seen it as work, to be honest, because I've always enjoyed it, which I think is kind of the ultimate fulfillment to have. And I just said it before. I want to thank you, Kev, for bringing me on this journey. It's been, it's great working with you. I'm, obviously excited to continue working together. And I think, again, a big shout out to the entire Refract team who, contributed so much along the way. We've got an awesome team, and they've everyone's played a huge part in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been lucky to work together. We're so lucky to have an amazing team that have helped make all of this. Have made all of this happen. And, looking forward to the next chapters.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll wrap up there. Any other questions that people have? Myself and Kev would be happy to. Our inboxes are open for people who, I'm sure have any questions about. Dive into things that we've talked about today, and we'll see what we can share. But yeah, good to speak, and hopefully before Christmas we'll get back on to breaking down some real sales calls on here, which I know the audience loves. So yeah, all right, we'll call it quits there. Cheers, Kev.
Thanks, Rich. Cheers.
Cheers.